Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ball Watching. Jake Koenig, Justin Graham here on yet another episode where, Justin, we don't have a whole lot of great stuff to talk about. That's why we have moved up, I'd say, Justin, one of the more fun topics that we'll talk about on this show. Fun, we'll have fun along the way, but this is cool. So if anyone tuning in live right now, people are starting to filter in, anyone on the podcast, sit down because you're about to hear about a kick-ass giveaway. Justin, when this hit our desks, I know you and I were super excited about the opportunity. And of course, Hoffman Brothers brings it. So before we jump right into it, Justin, anything you want to mention off the top, things you've been up to in this July 4th weekend, anything memorable before we get to the big giveaway?
Nothing memorable. This is the coolest thing that they had brought in front of our desk, as you mentioned. This is over $2,000 that they're doing on a giveaway for you all, and it's very easy to enter. So, Jake, I'll share my screen, and I'll kind of let you take us through what people need to do and what they could possibly win.
Okay, so you all know Hoffman Brothers. Our friends at Hoffman Brothers are presenting sponsor for 2025 for all of ball watching. Justin already took it. This giveaway they're offering for right now for all of you listeners, all of our followers, is worth well over $2,000. And here's what it is made up of: 4 Pitch Club tickets to this weekend's city match versus Portland Timbers. That is a Sunday night at 6 p.m. I bet you're not doing anything. And if you are, bet this is better. So make sure you consider on that element. But that alone, well over $2,000 in value, I think, on its own at face value. Those Pitch Club tickets are phenomenal. All you can eat, all you can drink. They also have a parking pass as well. No hassle on that. Also, from the Hoffman Brothers angle here, Justin, 1-year essential home protection plan. I've got one. I'm sure you'll probably get one here in the next year, Justin, now that you're under the roof as well. But I mean, I literally had Hoffman Brothers here today because my dryer crapped out. I mean, like I mentioned to you in the last pod, and they were looking at it. They're going to be back out next week for some repairs. I'll be honest, I don't like seeing these guys as much as I don't like seeing them a lot because that means that's things that are going wrong in the home front. But I like seeing them because I know they mean the best. I know they're the smartest. They are the best in terms of anything under the roof locally here in St. Louis. So make sure, again, you're considering Hoffman Brothers for all your home needs. So a home protection plan for a year, the 4 Pitch Club tickets, and a little what would I say, a little filler on top for all you out there, a City SC flag and a cooler. I mean, come on, it's summertime right now. Fly those flags high, even in these dark times, and make sure you're getting the cold ones as well in that cooler. So the whole package, I mean, so many cool items between the tickets, the 1-year home protection plan, the cooler, and the flag all come under the banner of this one giveaway. So Justin, you're showing us some pictures here in the visual format for anyone tuning in on the video, but talk to us about anything else you want to talk about in the giveaway and also how you can get entered.
Yeah, so what I'm sharing here for anybody that hasn't seen it yet, and you'll be able to see it on the reel that we're going to be posting afterwards. But these are pictures from inside the Moneta Pitch Club. The top one is the jersey reveal when we were both there, and then the other ones are games that we have been to this season. You could see Zonde Silva and Simon Betcher checking in right in front of you. I'm sitting right next to Hartel and Lunt on a game that they were starting. And then at the bottom, there's a picture of the flag and the cooler that they're throwing in this as well. And then, Jake, I'm going to show us one more quick video as well on a different game that we were at 2 seasons ago. And so with this, seeing the boys walk in during the Club America match, you will be able to do this as well. This is all included in your ticket with the Moneta Pitch Club. And then lastly, my favorite video that I have on my phone that I've kind of just been keeping away from fans, but now I'm ready to share it. Look how close I am to Klaus. He just turns around and says hi to you. It's so cute. And so, Jake, how can you win this if you're a fan? So all you have to do is, after this episode goes live, we're going to put together a reel and we're going to share it with Hoffman Brothers on Instagram. You need to be following Hoffman Brothers and us on Instagram. That's step 1. You then need to like that reel that we are posting. That is step 2. And then you need to comment Go City below it. And that will automatically get you entered into it. And then if you would like to do a bonus entry as well, you can tag a friend and just in the comments at that friend, and you will get an additional entry for doing that. And then on top of that, Jake, we are throwing in one more. If you throw it on your story and share the reel for more people to see, you will also be entered to win another time. So that is 3 possible ways to get entered. And Jake, I do want to reiterate here, each tag of someone of your friends that you tag is an additional entry. So 1, follow us in Hoffman Brothers. 2, like the post. 3, comment Go City. That's your first entry. Second entry is tagging one of your friends or however many friends you want to get more entries. And then the third possible way is to throw it up on your Instagram story.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I know that might sound like a lot to some folks. That takes you 2 seconds to get all that work done. And again, the value, 4 Pitch Club tickets to this Sunday's match against Portland Timbers, the best access in the house at Energizer Park, some of the best seats you'll ever sit in at any stadium around here in the U.S. Obviously, all you can eat food and drink, the parking pass, plus the home protection plan for a full year, keeping everything safe and sound under the roof, the city cooler, the city flag, and 3 easy steps, plus some bonuses for how you can get your most amount of entries as possible. A reminder for you all, there will be only 8 hours to claim these tickets via DM, but it will be announced. The winner will be announced on Friday, July 11th. So this is a tight one. Make sure you get your homework done. Make sure you get entered, get set, and Hoffman Brothers are going to hook you up for not only this weekend, but ongoing, right, Justin? I mean, this has some longitude to it as well. So we could be more excited to bring this to you all. And again, shout out, thank you so much to Hoffman Brothers for offering this giveaway and for rewarding our amazing listeners.
It's an insane giveaway, Jake. Something that you said is that easy to share something like something on social media for over $2,000 in value. I know the team has not been doing great this year, but guess what? You can go down there and have a glorious dinner with all you can drink and have a nice little Sunday fun day down at City Park and see the boys up close and personal. So if you're not, I don't know why you would not enter this. I've already told a bunch of people about it. And they're like, well, when are you dropping it? I'm like, it'll be right after this episode. We'll be dropping this reel. It'll be on our Instagram and Hoffman Brothers. So we'll be posting this and you all need to get after it because this is going to be a fun one.
Oh, love it. Love it, love it, love it. If you have any questions, any comments, make sure you drop them below on that reel when Justin gets that posted for us here on Instagram and tag Hoffman Brothers. They will get ahead of any of that for you all. They're the best. So again, a big shout out to Hoffman Brothers. Thank you for kicking the episode off in style, Justin. And here we go. Now, let's jump into our first sporting topic for the day. Before we get into all things City, that being the recap for the last match and the preview for the upcoming match here against Portland Timbers, we got to cover at least a little bit what we witnessed on this Sunday night as the U.S. men's national team lost 2-1 in the Gold Cup final down in Houston. 2-1, I would say, Justin, is a relatively friendly score for, I think, what we witnessed as obviously big fans of the team and the boys and the red, white, and blue, and follow them, just as hard as we do City, and we're ride or die, obviously. But this game, it was tough. It was a tough watch. Mexico looked, in my opinion, the better of the two almost the entirety of the evening. Obviously, we were bolstered by a very, very early goal, courtesy of Chris Richards on a set piece. And there were things we can talk about and unpack here or there, but I'll just give my general take to kind of start us off, Justin. Game aside, disappointing, right? Mexico was a good team, in my opinion, probably the favorites to win the tournament. They had more of their stars, I would say, than we did, and that was clear. And they just had a better identity. They executed a better game plan. They were just a better team in the field. And I just want to say, from a positives perspectives, this is a learning opportunity for these guys. Even these guys, I know a lot of our guys are yet to be challenged in this way, at least recently for the men's national team prior to next year's World Cup. But I did think that we brought a little bit more bite to this team, a little more identity, a little more personality to this program under Pochettino. It was a good chance for him to do so. Now I think he has that challenge of how do you integrate your stars back into this sort of culture that you've now fostered. But I also think from a sporting perspective, you've been a little exposed in some of these bigger matches. We lost pretty soundly to Switzerland, Turkey in those friendlies, and here against Mexico, again, a team that you are not expected to be, but you should be challenging and competing in this moment, even with this crop for sure. So I think a lot for Poach and crew to learn on this one and to better themselves on. I don't have a bitter taste in my mouth, Justin, but I don't think it was the brightest of experiences either.
No, I don't think it was terrible, Jake. I think when you think about what we were coming into after losing those two friendlies into this tournament, I think we had a lot of questions, right? And I think at least this team looked like they showed fight. And that's something that I don't think that this team has really done a whole lot of, to be honest, before that. It's one of those things where everybody was saying, like, oh, you need to rep the badge. It's all the old school guys. Like, you saw Landon Donovan, you see Lexi Alalis, all these guys are saying, like, these guys just don't care. They don't get it. This crew that came in cared. They showed the fight. And they did what they could. I will say I'm more excited when you look about the possible lineup that now could be coming with these guys. You haven't mentioned here already. Chris Richards solidified himself as a starting center back. Then are we going to have Tim Ream next to him? Possibly. But then you look at the other guys that we're missing that are not here. Anthony Robinson on the left, still at Fulham. Serginho Dest on the right back. In front of them, you're going to have centralized Tyler Adams. Again, absolutely love what he was able to do in this tournament. He was able to put his foot on the ball literally and figuratively and slow things down and kind of let the guys catch their breath and realize, like, hey, we got this. It's us. And so I thought he did a great job there. Then you also have Luna and Malik Tillman, who did an incredible job in this tournament, who could play with Pulisic, Balogun, Weston McKennie, Weah, Reyna, De La Torre, Yunus Musa, like all of these guys. We have a lot of depth in the midfield area. The one thing that I'm still not very confident of is who we're going to have as a striker right now. We mentioned Balogun. We have Pepe. We have Ajiman, who didn't really show that much to me in this tournament. Yes, he scored some goals, but kind of looks like he was non-existent in the game against Mexico. Does Josh Sargent get a kind of an opportunity here? So we have a lot of guys that have a chance to do some things here, but Jake, we just don't have a lot of time left to do it.
That's the biggest thing, I think, Justin, is the time is dwindled. There are no more competitive fixtures, in a competitive format like a tournament remaining between now and the World Cup. So you're going to have to make a lot of these limited camps left and a lot of these friendlies that you get scheduled. So they are coming up in matches in September against, we've talked about them, Justin, before already, but South Korea on September 6th, and on September 9th, they will play against Japan. Both of those, I believe, are on home turf here. So again, you're not flying overseas to go challenge yourself there. But again, when you're playing a World Cup in the States, maybe not the biggest thing you need to really focus on playing those away games. I think otherwise I would like to try and do that more often. But I agree with you, Justin. I think guys that really hit the radar in terms of looking at a lock for the roster, I'll even take Richards out of it. Obviously, I think Richards is the best center back you have in the pool at this point. I think Tillman has put himself on the fringe of starting in this first group game come the World Cup. I think Luna put himself in the impact player off the bench conversation, I would imagine. I would think that Tim Ream probably at this point, again, because no one else has dethroned him, probably going to be your 1A, your 1B, your center back right next to Chris Richards, which, I mean, if you'd have told me that after Qatar, I would have told you are absolutely nuts, but look at us now. And there's a couple other guys that, maybe have gotten some better looks here and there that we haven't mentioned as much, but a lot of young guys, right, too, Justin, guys that have runway to grow up, to grow into the game, to grow into themselves, to play a lot more, to get a lot more minutes. And maybe they do kind of pop up, short of the World Cup or just after it as well. So I think a lot of good can come of this, even after this 2026 World Cup cycle.
Yeah, Jake, there was someone that I saw a tweet, and that's where I was getting all my depth from. I mean, if you want to look at center backs after Tim Ream, it's Miles Robinson or Austin Trusty is who they have as the left-sided center back on this. And then you have Mark McKenzie, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Walker Zimmerman, guys that have kind of been there but haven't really made their name known because of what they've been doing. So it's kind of weird to me that we are going to be going into the World Cup thinking that Tim Ream is likely a starter at this point. But otherwise, I don't see who else you throw in there. With what? We have 2 friendlies that we're going to have, maybe some practices and obviously more additional games behind closed doors. But Jake, one thing I do want to mention in this game is Aaron's already in here asking about it as well. We had a real take off a little bit. And the one controversy that you want to talk about in this game without us getting into the goals and all of that is, was it a handball? And we reached out to our buddy George Gansner, who did an incredible job for us breaking this down. And Jake, I'm just going to play it for everybody. Anybody who hasn't already seen the reel, that got over 1.1 million views and I think over 35,000 likes or so.
Hey guys, George Gansner here. I know everybody's up in arms about the no handball being given to the United States when the Mexican defender falls on the ball. Here's what the law book says. It says if a player's arm is in a justifiable position for the movement that they're making, and in this case, he's falling over, putting his arm down to brace himself from falling, his hand just goes on the ball. It's terrible for the United States, but the reality is this is not going to be a handball. This goes back to general soccer IQ as well, that no player intentionally wants to do this and put their hand on the ball knowing it's going to be a penalty. And so all of that comes into play, but it's literally about the law where it says a player's arm is in a justifiable position for the movement that he or she is making. So this is why it's not a handball. Again, sucks for the USA, but that is what it is. Thanks. Hey guys.
And Jake, ultimately, the one thing that I kept loving with this reel was the amount of comments that people had and the likes that were getting up to it. Like this one doing the floating body had 900 likes on this comment. It was just cool to see what was all going on here. And you could see some of the insights that we had here, but the comments that were going through it, there were some people that were getting after it into true battles with each other in the comment section. There's another comment down here that I think has 6,000 likes. People were just going all after it, and it was absolutely electric to watch in the past day or so.
Oh, it's so fun. Nothing like a good handball in a cup final international tournament to rile some people up, especially those Mexican fans who are staunchly defending the rule book. I mean, they are hand on Bible, but that Bible is the IFAB, soccer rules and everything. George Gansner, shout out to George. Obviously, amazing analysis. We haven't even had to really have him on the show for a city perspective this year. Just we've tapped in the brain a couple times to get a couple of videos here and there for certain types of things like this. We're going to have to get him on at some point here because now the man is viral. That floating head is popping up on screens everywhere you look. So shout out to George for turning that around for us so quickly and giving us those. I'm just going to go out and say it, Justin. I still hate it, right? Like that is your team. You'd be devastated, just like we are. That's not a handball because it looks so aggressive almost. It's like you literally have a hand sitting on a ball, clear as day. You know what I mean? Your mind just tells you hand on ball equals handball. And what we're hearing is obviously the unintentionality of it and the going to plant, catch yourself unintentional. I get it. I know there's stuff all around that, but just it is the most obvious looking thing in the world, that snapshot that you showed us, that GIF or that video, and to have it not be called, especially in a game that wasn't going our way to start with, would have been huge.
Yeah, Pochettino came out and said, and it was I didn't really appreciate what he was saying. He was like, well, if that was on the other side of it, aka a U.S. defender putting the hand on ball, 100% would have been called a PK. I don't know if I agree with that. I do agree. I like George's way of stepping back and say soccer IQ. No one wants to do that on purpose. When you do slow it down, though, it does look like he has time to look where the ball is and put his hand on it. And yes, you don't typically want to do that on purpose, but in a quick action like that, you see a lot of guys that get fouled and just grab the ball so that the other team can't go on a counter attack, or in this sense, go score a goal in their own box. So I wouldn't have been surprised if it was on purpose. But you know what? That's what makes sports fun. There's nothing like a good U.S. versus Mexico game that doesn't come out with a good controversy on something like that. So ultimately, the Gold Cup was a lot of fun to watch. And now, Jake, we're just back into the MLS, the dog days of summer, as we say, because Club World Cup has 2 matches left. We have the semifinal, which is tomorrow, PSG versus Real Madrid at 2 p.m. And then the final, the winner of that game will be against Chelsea on Sunday at 2 p.m. So not a whole lot left before we really just get back into MLS on the weekends. You got some League Cup coming up as well. That's not going to pause the MLS, which is good this season. But otherwise, it's going to be a lot of baseball, and that's not good for us Cardinals fans.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good, and especially when you want to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And like we're getting there from a season end perspective. Like we'll be out of our misery at some point soon. And some folks might be really holding on for the transfer window. I'm just looking at improving the health and availability of the guys that we have here at this point because it's laughable at this point. Like at some point you would expect this list to dwindle down or dissipate in some way, shape, or form. But that brings us to the ball watching STL injury report brought to you by Schmickens Injury Law Firm. Unlike the boys in red, an injury off the pitch shouldn't have been your life. The Schmickens Injury Law Firm fights to obtain fair compensation for people just like you and me who've been injured in car wrecks, tripped and fall cases, and or on the job. If you or someone you know has been injured, give Rob a call at 314-222-4223 to discuss your case. Hey, I mean, July 4th, it might have done some people in here, Justin. If you're that guy, if you're that girl, if you got an aunt, you got an uncle, a cousin, anyone that might have suffered just a little bit there and on accident, right? On a little July 4th, what happenstance? Make sure you give Rob a call and make sure you mention us for your free consultation. You will not pay unless Rob wins your case. Give Rob a call at 314-222-4223 or check him out at www.hurtinstl.com. Disclaimer, a choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely on advertisements. Justin, the list keeps growing. And now I'll say growing. Now it's kind of growing more in terms of stature. Maybe not necessarily a new name hitting the list this week. We did obviously not have Winsel available in this match due to a little hammy issue. Sounds very, very short term on that one. I'm not overly worried about that. Wallum, we were told before the match, given his calf injury, would have a minute's restraint. Guess that was made up because he played every minute of this one, which is just crazy to me to come out and say this guy will be on a minute's restraint and then play him the whole match. Maybe we're playing checkers or chess with the opposing team as we're saying that type of thing to say, oh, we're not going to have to see this guy for the full. Maybe we don't have to plan for him, whatever. I don't like it personally. Morales, you and I know, is going to be out for probably at least another 3 to 4 weeks from that collarbone issue that he has. Durkin, maybe the closest you can think about here, Justin. We haven't heard any updates yet this week so far on the injury front from Critchley and co., but he was close prior to becoming a father, and you'd hope that that injury has since come and gone. Baumgartel probably close on the heels of him, but not any sooner. And the rest of it, Justin, just gets more drab.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Jake, the one positive I'll say out of what you just mentioned, maybe Durkin has a little bit of dad strength. Just put it directly into the knee. Good to go. But yeah, and we talk about, you already mentioned Baumgartel out, tentative 7/19 is what we were kind of thinking in that sense. So another week after that. But then Kessler out with a hamstring, Leuven hamstring. He's been out, but has been training. So he's probably also on that side of, hey, is he ready to go? However, I do not think they're going to be throwing him straight into a starting 11 on this sense. I think that's one where you kind of bring him in, give him 30 minutes and have a true end in sight for that, so he's not pushing himself too hard. Nilsson out for the foreseeable future with his knee as well. And then Alm is now out for the rest of the season, which does free up a roster spot for us and his cap hit as well. He's been a difficult one. I know we posted a kind of a joking story last week for one of our listeners that said, is Alm alive? Like, we need eyes on him. We haven't seen anything. It was a very sad story that he posted today, like just dealing with those injuries. That's got to be so frustrating for him. It's something where he has to be, and you think about it, we've mentioned this. It stinks when like people like us have injuries, right? You're limping around the office, whatever. These guys play soccer for a living. He is working to get back on the field every day, all day, and he still can't be able to do it. It's just got to be so disheartening for him. But that's a tough one. But now we do have some open spots that we can kind of make some moves with in this upcoming transfer window.
Yeah, so let's bring it into the starting 11 here for what we saw against RSL. Obviously, a crazy new looking back line, right? With the only person I think you could trust in that ball is Toland, who maintained his spot. And then you saw JGR next to him, who I've been growing on for sure. I'm liking more the minutes. It sounds like he prefers center back. I know he's still super young. I encourage everyone, be patient here. This is a step up from the Australian League. He's a young guy. From what I've heard and seen at training, it sounds like they think he's got a lot of potential. We're putting a lot of eggs in that basket. Yarrow gets to start next to him for his first minutes under Critchley. Kind of a weird place to throw him in as a start here, Justin, but Yaziel Orozco got to start next to him, a City 2 call-up at left back. Ahead of them, we saw Ostrak make his first start under Critchley, which I think was sorely deserved and I think paid off for the time we did get to see him. Wallem next to him. And then ahead, a lot of the usual suspects, but you lost Celio. You pushed Hartel into that spot, Teuscher into kind of Hartel's kind of floating 10 spot, and Betcher on the right wing ahead of right behind Klaus. So a lot of, just I'm looking at this, not a lot of speed in the attack. You know, you're looking at Klaus, Hartel, Teuscher, Betcher probably the most of any of them. Not a lot of verticality, node width. I'm kind of looking and say now the result makes a little more sense to me. Looking at the 11, I hadn't done that before. This literally exact moment, but it again, it just kind of feels a little bit imbalanced. But again, a lot of these decisions get made for you because you just don't have many other choices to turn to.
No, that's what's kind of insane. And I've been trying to talk to people about it. And like, with Olaf, people are like, oh, it's the injuries. It's not him. And it's like, and I don't want to bring this back to Olaf. It was the injuries, but because it wasn't, in my opinion, I really do think that he was not the fit for this club. But these injuries, as you look at that list, Jake, that is so tough to just look past and be like, yeah, we should still be competing. When you look at, I would say, a Durkin is a starter, a Baumgartel is a starter, a Kessler, a Leuven, a Nilsson, all starters on guys. And I would say not just in and out starters, like true starters for this team that we are missing. So that is 6 guys that we are just not seeing on a daily basis and that the other team typically is on their side. Yes, when we're looking at these, we're doing these previews, everybody is missing a guy here or there, but it's not 6 main starters and also not for months. I'm not talking a week or two or a knock on the knee. We haven't seen some of these guys I don't think since like April, Jake. Yeah. We're now mid-July. It's been absolutely absurd.
Yeah, I think the stat when they announced Alm was I think he played 7 minutes this season. So that's all he got to do in 2025. I think Nelson, they said, has played in 6 games. So he'll be probably out, I'd imagine, most of the rest of the season as well, if I'm not mistaken. The bummer here, Justin, is with the instability in the personnel selection on this comes early mistakes, early woes. Those creep into the game. And within almost 5 minutes, in the 6th minute, RSL gets a goal courtesy of a corner kick, which, God, you hate to have a set piece get in the back of the net. I will say on this one, it's not on the immediate corner kick itself. It's on the clearance that JGR gets ahead on. We're not quick enough to close down it landing at the foot of an attacker who does well to bring it down and hit a wonder strike of a volley into the far post. Berkey, nothing you can do about it. This is one of those like kick us while we're down type moments. But I'm trying to look at ways we can improve here. I do think we could have been a little bit better on closing that down and making it a little bit more difficult for the guy. But sometimes you got to just also tip your cap because that was a hell of a boot.
Yeah, Jake, you know me. I always try to find something in these goals to be able to talk about. And unfortunately, on this one, I just don't think there is one because, yes, there's a guy at the top of the box. And I will even say, as this replay plays out, I believe it's Ostrak, but we have it at the top of our box. And he's floating in around here. I'm okay with where he's at. This is just an unreal volley. And it's a quick turnaround. It's not like we didn't get out there that quick. The guy took a touch off his chest, barely let it bounce and hit a one-timer. That one you just got to tip your cap to because that's not going to happen again. So that's just a frustrating one to start the game off.
It is. And just in general for me, I mentioned the instability with the 11 and especially some of the back line, suspect sloppy defending at times. RSL was clear looking to kind of catch us on crosses and diagonals and big switches. And our line at times just was really out of whack. The four weren't playing together. They weren't on the same plane horizontally in defense. And I think it created some really nervy moments for us in that first half. And I'll also give some credit to RSL, though, as well, on the offensive side of the ball, with the ball for them. We tried a lot more in the beginning, in my opinion, on doing some pressing, especially in higher areas, to generate some turnovers and hopefully some easier chances. They were really press proof early on. They were really tidy on the ball, very nice, intricate pass work and opening up the channels and kind of teasing us out of position. I'll give credit to their goalkeeper, Cabral, we mentioned in the preview show, kind of plays like a sweeper keeper or a third almost center back in a way. Great on the ball, very solid and sturdy, made some great saves as well. So I know RSL's kind of seeping down in the same area of the standings as we are, but they showed some good quality, especially without their headliner in Diego Luna.
Yeah, Jake, one kind of these things I wanted to bring up that didn't show on the score sheet, but we definitely should have been down 2-0 in the 22nd minute here. If you look at this, you mentioned it already. Look at our back line. This is not a line. There's literally a line in the grass where these guys should be. You have Yarrow here. I believe this is actually Totland jogging up.
Yep.
Totland's up here. This might be Ostrak because he played a bad pass back to JGR. JGR is way back here. Watch this play out, Jake. You'll see this. JGR still is not in the frame. He's over here, and this ball is about to be played. And guess what? We're actually getting Orzoko, who is actually just sleeping on this, with Yarrow also another 5 yards back for no reason. But watch, there's JGR, and there's 10 yards of space. And this ball is getting played in over the top. And Orzoko is trying to hold a line, but it's a non-existent line considering Yarrow is 5 yards behind him. And you got JGR 10 yards behind him. Great ball in. And look what Berkey does here to keep us in this game. Absolutely massive save there. Great block by us here. And then we have to do it again and have another block to keep us out of this. But that's all because of a lack of communication and a lack of straight line. Look at this line when we have this.
Yeah.
You're in a terrible order. And then Yarrow's holding his hand up. Do you not see your buddy JG? One, you're the one keeping him on. Two, do you not see your buddy JGR that's 20 yards behind you? It's got to be cleaned up in the back.
The tip of the cap I'll give back to the team here is that after that goal goes in, obviously you got to respond. You got to show that you're going to fight through this match. And immediately after that RSL goal came, I did see some good response. There was a moment there with Teuscher generating a nice high turnover, getting us down the sideline and cutting it back for Betcher, who had our first shot on target in the match. Wallum had some great patient kind of play in and around the edge of the 18 where he kind of waited for the right cross, the right cutback, beat his man, cut it back to Teuscher, who had a great shot on target. It was our best chance of the night, probably. Incredible save from Cabral. And I also saw, though, Justin, some recurring themes as well. Berkey standing on his head, massive saves, a couple goal-saving, goal-mouth blocks from Orozco on a follow-up shot, another one by JGR early on in the 23rd minute. We were, I would say, really leaning on, from a progression standpoint, Ostrak, and I tweeted about it when I was watching the game. I think the quality that he gives us, especially in lieu of having a Leuven or a Morales available, I know that he's not the biggest figure, a little bit dainty, honestly, in terms of profile or frame, but the way that he can sit on the ball, pass, distribute, show up in the right channels, go looking for the ball. No one on our team does that in that area of the field. And I was really impressed with his leadership on the field and trying to provide an outlet for us, whether that was providing an option build up, a little 1-2, or a runner in behind, even a late runner. I was really impressed with him. I think he kind of helped, shepherd us through the second half of that first half, all the way up until RSL gets their second, where Justin, you already mentioned Orozco. I actually thought it was a decent performance by him. This is one that he'll want to have back and one that he'll definitely learn from. I know he's still a young guy, only 21 years old, but he attempted a line splitting pass from the left back position. And when you do that, when you're going centrally, that might get cut out more times than not. It was cut out. They happen to get it right to their striker in Willie Agata, who they just got from Sporting. Our entire midfield is already out of the play when this gets turned over, essentially. He runs at us a good 3v3. JGR gets in a tough defensive position, kind of gets those hips turned, as you talked about before. And I think does well to kind of recover and get it closed down. But Gonçalves, the cut inside on his favored boot. I don't think JGR tight enough in that moment. Another incredible finish, like just clinical. Berkey, not a chance in hell he can get anything on this as it just curls nicely right into the far post. And now you're down 2-0 heading into halftime. A late goal right before the half whistle is painful.
Yeah, Jake, I actually don't mind this ball by Orozco. If you look at this, it seems a little forced. I'm actually surprised that it gets through the guys that it does. If you look at it, it goes past 1, 2, and 3 players, 2 of them being them. And he's trying to get it up to Klaus to reach his feet here. Klaus reads it way too late. He's not expecting it. He tries to get in front of the defender. Here's where we make the mistake now, Jake. If you look at this, look at our center defensive mids. We officially have 3 of the RSL players behind our center defensive mids, and also Yarrow and JGR, 20 yards of space between them and the offenders that ultimately get this nice one-touch ball by the center back. That's an incredible game-making decision and a pass directly to Agata. And look, he slots him in here. I actually think JGR is fine here. He's trying to, I wouldn't have turned my hips in to defend him there. I would have kept staying with the runner and let everybody else recover. But he does, like you said, a nice recovery here. He's doing well defensively. And then this is a good spot to be in. Ultimately, as a defender, you're supposed to take away the near post. The goalkeeper is supposed to cover the far post. I would say Berkey could probably do a little bit better positioning here, but he's not touching this ball, Jake, as it goes in off the far post. An absolute wicked bender with some heat on it as well. It's an unfortunate goal. I think it possibly could have been stopped if we had better positioning with our center defensive mids and our center backs. But again, we were in possession. So that's where you see a little bit of that lackadaisicalness when it comes to rest defense.
And let me clarify the record on the Orozco comment too. I think it was a little bit of maybe just the wrong moment to attempt a pass like that. By the way, love the aggression. I love the idea of keeping your head up, especially as a young guy like that, 21 years old, making your debut here for the club and going for it. Like, I respect it. If this is the season you're going to try it in, that's a perfect time to do so because we suck. And that doesn't matter ultimately in the scheme of things. So I'm all in support of him going for things like that. And I think overall he impressed me. What else impressed me for the team this night for us was set pieces. So the first half comes and goes. We enter the second and we get a goal in the opening 6 minutes in the 51st, courtesy of a Hartel whipped in corner kick. We've been talking about it all season. He loves to go for those more lollipop, maybe more placed corner kicks. He fizzed this one in. I mean, at RSL, I don't know what they were doing in terms of defense. Klaus literally just stood his ground and just headed that ball down. Again, good technique, good form. As a striker, I feel like you're taught to head that ball down on the ground. For a goalkeeper, that's really hard to react to because that ball's going to go down trajectory and then change trajectory as it goes back up. You're keeping the pace on it. If the surface is wet at all, it might skip a little bit too. So great finish from Klaus. Again, a no-frills goal off a set piece, a corner kick for us, puts it right back in the game. You're only down 2-1 now. You could feel the wind in our sails maybe a little bit, but it took another 30 minutes for us to get another goal. Again, that was off a corner kick in the 81st. RSL had already gotten another one to tack onto it, so it was too late. But again, another corner kick, another set piece that Hartel this time takes a little bit off it, more lofts it, but again, puts it into a perfect area where it goes off of things like Yarrow's like shoulder, not a handball, and goes in the back of the net. And again, it gave us a little bit of life at the time, but it still was too far away for us. But again, I just wanted to bring those 2 goals here, Justin, because set pieces have been getting better for us, in my opinion. We've been generating some danger off of them. From an XG perspective, I believe it made up almost half our XG on the night. So you can clearly tell they're working on this in training. And if they can keep going at this, it's something you can carry into future seasons as well.
Absolutely. I'd love to see the balls that are whipped in because Jake, it's not only one that it makes it harder for the defense, but if you whip one in, then it only takes something for Klaus to be able to just stand his ground and do a little nick and just redirect it, as opposed to if it's floated, Klaus has to get up and truly get through the ball to put pace on it to get it past the defender and or goalkeeper. So that's a tough one that I just want to see more of these balls whipped in. I like when Celio's on these. Obviously, we love when Leuven's on these. Leuven doesn't know how to play a lollipop ball. That man is driving every ball, regardless of where he puts it. And then, Jake, the last thing I do want to mention is on their last goal. I'm not going to talk about how it went off of Yarrow, but I think I want to go back to how could we have done better to prevent this? And this is the play right here. So it's being swung by RSL right here. And I think we're doing a good job right here. You can see Totland going up to step right here. We're down a goal. So we're trying to prevent and press them a little bit more. Wallum is where I think this goes wrong. If you watch him with the offensive player to his right, Wallum does not stick with him. He does it kind of half-hearted, like, yeah, it's between me and JGR. We'll take care of it. And he just lets him go on. And as he does that, JGR is caught in no man's land, like, well, Wallum, are you staying with him or do I need to stay with him? And he's not tight enough to his guy to be able to block this pass. And then look at Wallum, already 12 yards behind the guy that ultimately gets the one-time ball in, through, and behind. And then lastly, Jake, I'll back it up just a half second here. Unfortunately, the one thing I think Josh Yarrow could have done was you got to get on your horse right there. Right here, you have a 5-yard head start. Look at that. He lost that 5 yards in 8 yards already. And he was already beat. And then by that point, it was too late. He was being reliant on his athleticism again. And it's too late. And he ultimately tries to make a play, puts it in the back of the net. I appreciate him going down there and at least trying to keep it out. But you got to have better positioning there. And I do think that it could have been all prevented if Wallum tracks the runner and communicates a little bit better with JGR.
And I'll also say this game should have been worse. I think Berkey again kept us in it. It was a good Berkey performance. I know it was another 3 goals let in, 2 of them unstoppable, the third one an own goal. I mean, very, very hard. I'm not sure what you can do about any of those. If you're him, I'm sure he still takes them personally. I don't think we went quiet into the night in that latter part of the second half, but still, the chance creation felt like a dime a dozen for me. I just didn't feel like we carried enough threat consistently. We did have that wide open look at the very end that Klaus had on that header. I'm not going to go too into him on this again because he's been carrying us a lot in terms of the goal threat recently. And if you're him, you got to put that away. He knows that. We all know that. He did the hard work. He got the body on the guy, but without fouling. Had a great service from Hartel on this just whipped in kind of cross a Hartel early played. And he's going to be hard on himself. I don't think we need to go any more into Klaus, and I'm sure he will himself. But if we got out of that game, Justin, 3-3, I would have felt extremely fortunate. I mean, it did not. I know the XG might tell a different story from the eye test. We didn't look like we were playing on the same field at times.
No, Jake, I will say in the last one that I do think that Klaus did really well on was in the 75th minute right here as the ball gets knocked down. This is one that prior he would just put his laces through and sky out of the stadium. He puts it on net and puts a bender, and it's just an incredible save by the RSL keeper. Look at this one-handed save. Reminds me of something Berkey would do as he's trying to bend it and put it into the side netting. Just keeps it a little bit too central. And yeah, we know that he wants that one back. You could see it on his face on not that one, but the header at the end of the game. He's just like, oh my God, I can't believe it actually made it through to him, one, and then that he missed the goal. That's a tough one. That's one that ultimately he would finish, I would say, at least 7 out of 10 times. So it's unfortunate for us, but I agree with you. We didn't deserve to have this one. But Jake, now we're kind of running out of time and out of room with this season.
Yeah, we are. I mean, 13 matches left to go. We need what we say, Justin, before this? We need 30 points from a possible 39.
Yes, that is correct. Because when we say 30 points, it's because we currently have 15. Typically, to make the playoffs, it's been around 45 points or so when everything shakes out the past couple of years. So we would need 30 points out of 39. So if anybody's not a big mathematician, that means we need to win 10 of our last 13.
Yeah, no, we've got it. Hey, one more thing, Justin, before we move on to the Portland match, I do want to say Tyson Pierce made his debut. Homegrown talent, Tyson Pierce, 17 years old, barely old enough to drive, but he's suiting up in this city forever red to go out and represent his town. Like, how cool is that? Super happy for Tyson. I think he played very within himself in this match, as I would as well. Safe passes, very conservative, very smart, tidy. But that was also in midfield. We know he's been playing, I believe, at fullback for City too. So kind of stepping into a little more of a fulcrum type position, which I know is where he came up in and probably would like to be in the future. So proud of him. A lot of pride to take in that moment, and got a nice little cameo there, almost half an hour or just over half an hour when you include stoppage time. So happy for Tyson and happy for Orozco as well. Both guys getting their St. Louis City SC first team debuts, and I think showing well, in all honesty. So I'm happy. I'm hoping a lot more of that to come here, Justin, because it doesn't get easier for us. Portland is coming to town, a team that we've already played this season, and we lost 2-1 away from home. It was a great opening sort of 60 minutes in terms of chance creation for us. We could not kill this game. Portland came back, scored 2 late goals, stole all 3 points from us. I remember that being a very, very painful one. And things have gone relatively well for them this season. As fourth in the West is where they sit right now on 33 points, 9-5-6 win-loss draw, 30 goals for, 28 against. So we'll talk. There's some interesting tidbits to think about in Portland in terms of their goal output and goals conceded as well, because this, when you look at some of these stats, the numbers don't necessarily really reflect the positioning in the West, and we'll get to that. But from an away perspective, it's a 3-4-2 overall record team. Got a big away win against Colorado, a draw against Texas and Austin, a 4-1 loss at San Jose. That's an ugly looking one. A draw against RSL. Obviously, we're just coming from RSL. And then a 1-0 loss against Orlando. Nothing to be ashamed about there. They did just beat New England. That was at home, however. That was a 2-1 victory in New England, again, 11th in the East. And so they're looking good, Justin. They're heading to St. Louis with 3 wins in the last 5 and a 0 goal differential, which, again, sounds funky. There's some lopsided losses on the end of that. Justin, any immediate thoughts strike you with Portland Timbers as they come here?
The immediate thought, Jake, is that our form is absolutely terrible, as we have now lost 4 of our last 5, and that other one in that 5 games was a draw. So we have now amounted 1 point out of a possible 15 in the last 5. So we're looking to turn this around, and it's not going to be easy with this team, coached by an absolute legend and Phil Neville as well. What are they looking for in a formation underneath of him? They're usually a flexible 4-2-3-1, similar to what we play now after Olaf has been gone. Sometimes it more narrow into a 4-3-3. I think it kind of depends on the team that they're playing. I wouldn't be surprised if they go into a 4-3-3 in this one, honestly, Jake, because we have not proven that we can break teams down. So why would you? And we've been proven that we can be broken down. So if you have a little bit of a 4 and then a 3 in front, that is almost guaranteeing that you're not going to be giving up a goal to City. So that's one that's going to be interesting to see how they start with their lineup. But regardless of who they're starting or how they're starting with it, this team is creative and has some pace. I will say Anthony, that we have noted here, is going to be out for this one. We'll touch on that in the injury report here in a little bit. But he's produced 6 goals and 5 assists in their 18 games. He's outscored his expected goals, 6 goals versus a 4.7. So that's a man that just knows how to finish and has been doing it at a great rate so far this season. And he's contributing heavily in shot creation, 50 of those. And then he's number 21 in XG created in the MLS and top 10 in successful take-on. So a positive note here, Jake, is that they will be missing what I would call their best player. However, don't forget, so was RSL and Diego Luna.
And so was Houston without Jack McGlenn as well. So we've been there, done that. I'm not even going to think about that anymore here, Justin, because they got other tools in the shed as well. David DaCosta, that's their number 10, leads the MLS with 8 assists and is top among those kind of through ball type providers. He's number 10 in passes into the penalty area, number 6 in aggressive passes. What makes him so special, I think, for me, Justin, is this is a team that manufactures goals on transition and using width, and he is the orchestrator behind this. He is the mastermind. This team as a whole is top 10 in passes, number 3 in progressive passing distance, top 10 in through balls. They're going to be looking for the gaps, and we have been full of them recently. So this is a little bit scary heading into it. They also have a good striker in Kevin Kelsey, who signed back in January of this year. 5 goals already so far, offering very strong aerial hold-up play. Should be a big challenge or duel with our center backs in this one. But from a defensive perspective, this is where I think some of the opportunity creeps in. They got a mid-block usually deployed that has some issues. They have a disciplined sort of midfield setup and defensive setup overall, but they still concede 1.4 goals per game, which is in the higher end when you're looking at that end of the table. And they struggle with set piece defending, continuing on from 2024, where they conceded a league worst 12 set piece goals. They do have some veterans, Diego Chara being one of them, that it being his 15th season continues to play a big role in that midfield for them. And they have young guys as well, with Ian Smith, a big defender of theirs, being integrated quite well into the back line away from home, Justin. So obviously they're coming here. They're a bottom 10 team, points per game, only 1.25, slightly better than us. 8 of their 25 goals against have come away from home as well. So it's not a lot from a actual output perspective, but from an expected point of view, we'll talk about, XG versus actual goals for, expected goals against versus actual goals against. This team is getting results somewhat on the road. They're not that leaky as you would expect, though. So again, we'll get to color that a little bit more. But from an XG perspective, we talked about they're fourth in the West. They're only 25th in the league on the expected goals. It bumps up a little bit to more of the average levels when they go away, but they're really good with their shots on target. They had the 6th highest shot on target percentage in the league. And then when you look at defensively, expected goals against, number 28 in the league. That is just brutal. I think we are last right now in expected goals against. Bumps up to about average, about 15th, 14th when you look away from home specifically. And they are way overperforming this. And I think this is where it starts to make sense. Look at their expected goals against, Justin, 1.73. Not great. Again, that kind of puts them in more of a league of ours, but they're only conceding 1.4, like I said. So they're overperforming that significantly. And they've got a goalkeeper that's playing like his life depends on it as well.
Yeah, he has the 6th most saves and the highest save percentage in the MLS was 75% there. So looking more specifically, what are they doing in the two halves? Because Jake, I'm gonna let you take this XGD stat because that is absolutely nuts. But I'll mention real quick, what are they doing in the halves? In the first half, they are 17th in the MLS, away 22nd. And in the second half, they're 8th in the MLS, which is pretty solid, which makes sense in their standings. Currently in 4th in the West, around 8th overall in the MLS, but 14th away. So again, they are dropping off on the away side. But Jake, this XGD stat, tell the people what this is and why this is so important and why it is such an anomaly for where they are placed in the MLS currently.
Yeah, goals for minus goals against equals goal differential. We talk about goal differential or GD. Expected goals minus expected goals against gets you expected goal differential. And I just kind of looked at it. I don't look at it that often because, again, like now we're getting way more in the depths of the expected type statistics for all my nerds out there. But I just kind of told you all, like their expected goals against is really high. They're just outperforming it. And their expected goals are not great. So when you take the expected goals minus the expected goals against, it's a negative number for them. Like the expected goals against far outweighs the expected goals for them. So they have a negative balance. And guess who else is a negative balance? We do. But only, what I say here, Justin, 4 teams have a worse expected goal differential than them. That's Toronto, that's Colorado, that's Charlotte, and that's us. We are the only 4 teams that have a worse expected goal differential than Portland Timbers. Not one of those teams is currently in a playoff spot. Yet Portland sits in 4th, a home field playoff spot. So they've been really fortunate, I would say, in some moments, and they've made a lot of very little when it's come their way. And I think that's courtesy of having a good attack, a wide dynamic duo, and Anthony, who, again, we won't be seeing, but DaCosta, his creativity, their domination, possession, just cutting that final pass together, putting it on a platter. He does it. They win those aerial duels up front via Kevin Kelsey. And they have a good transition focus. Teams that can score and create threat consistently on transitions, you're always going to have those moments in matches. So Portland just seems to make the most of them, and they overperform when it comes to the defensive side, right, Justin?
Yes, absolutely. But Jake, as we talk about this on the defensive side, they will be missing a key defensive player in Zach McGraw. He's a 6'4", 205-pound defender with a back injury that is currently targeting him to be out mid-July. I haven't seen anything that he'll be playing in this game, but also out with him is Anthony, as we mentioned, with the hamstring. He had a hamstring back on 6/24 and sets him at 6 to 8 weeks. Like we said, he is leading the team in goal contributions. And a sad one from an injury front as well, similar to like an Alm for them, but this guy has way outperformed Alm. But Jonathan Rodriguez, they just announced today that he will miss the remainder of the season as well, undergoing a successful cartilage restoration surgery on his right knee. He only had 1 goal and 1 assist and 6 substitute appearances this year, Jake. Not even 2 full 90s when you combine all those together, even though he led the team with goals last season with 16 for the Timbers. So that is a huge miss for them this season as a whole, but somehow they're still able to pull together with Felipe Mora, 5 goals, 4 assists. Santiago Moreno, 25-year-old Colombian playmaker who has 4 goals, 4 assists after having 14 assists last year. So this is a deep team, Jake, that is very capable of picking it up when they have some guys injured.
I agree, Justin. I agree. So Portland, we talked enough about them, Justin. Let's talk about us, man. Let's talk about the boys that we expect to don the Forever Red kits as we come back home to Energizer Park. And now, Justin, we will create and predict our Hoffman Brothers starting 11.
Jake, real quick, plug again for anybody that is just now on that we have a lot higher numbers of people. Go after this. You'll go see the reel that we are posting. The Hoffman Brothers are having us do a giveaway that is 4 Moneta Pitch Club tickets. That's all inclusive. 2 Sunday nights game versus Portland. It also includes parking pass, also a year of their Hoffman Brothers home protection plan, plus a flag and a cooler for City. All you have to do is go to, once we post this reel about all this, go like it. You have to be following us and Hoffman Brothers. And then you also need to comment Go City. And if you want to give extra entries, you can tag a friend in the comments, and or you can post it on your own story for more entries. But that is an all-in value of over $2,000 that Hoffman Brothers are giving away, and we will announce the winner on Friday.
I think we're even going under there, Justin. I think it's thousands of dollars, like multiple thousands of dollars, and it could be yours with a couple simple steps. Go follow us. Go follow Hoffman Brothers. Get your homework done. Look at the reel. Get the instructions, and get entered to win. Winner being announced on Friday, July 11th. Justin, let's talk about the 11 here, Justin. Speaking of 11s, I expect to see in this one, let's just start with the back line. Obviously, Berkey and Net. I'm going to go ahead and go back to Reed here. I know Reed was getting, it sounds like, a little bit of a rest for this one as we saw Orozco there. Wouldn't be opposed to seeing Orozco again. I thought he was pretty solid, fun to watch. Would love to see him continue to build his repertoire here. I would expect to see them go back to JGR as well here. I do not, and I will just go on record, I'm good on the Yarrow thing. I'm just good. I would rather pull up another City 2 center back. I'm just good at this point. I don't want to go in on him. I don't think the future lies here at this level, especially at this point with Josh Yarrow. So I am good to be done with that. I'd probably go preferentially back to Kyle Hebert in terms of just stability, someone that I just kind of trust. Again, when he plays very conservatively within himself, that's fine. I'd rather just keep goals off the board the best we can. And I would go back to Tolan on the right. That'd be my back four.
Yeah, I think I'm good with that as well, Jake, because we don't really have any other options when you talk about Kessler and Nilsson and Baumgartel all being out. Maybe Wenzel. It sounds like maybe a hamstring could be there, so you could see a JGR and Wenzel at the back line again if for some reason the Critch doesn't want to go back to Hebert there. So in front of them, again, we are hamstrung and hands tied, handcuffed, everything that you can say it. So you could probably go just back to an Ostrak and a Volum there. I wasn't that opposed to it. I think you love Ostrak more than I do, but I do think that the guy can play, and I think having a little bit more confidence, I'd like to give him back-to-back games, see what he can do. And obviously, Volum has the talent. We saw it earlier in the season. I would like to see him get more consistent minutes if he's not on this minutes restriction that we apparently thought we had in the first game. So in front of them, though, I think we saw it on Mike's tweet as well, and you and I were texting about it. Toy Shirt just isn't having it right now, dude. I don't know what's going on there. It kind of reminds me back to when one of the press guys asked, like, do you think like City forgot how to score? Like, do you think Toy Shirt forgot how to play soccer? Because I just don't see what he's doing out there, in my opinion. I think he's lost a lot of his touch and his creativity. So go back to it, to my favorite man, Celio with a Hartel underneath the Klaus and a Betcher on the right. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is probably dropping Toy Shirt. And again, I think, it's been a tough season for him. When the goals go for him, we've always said that I don't think he's the most contributing type player when it comes to build up and open play. I'm not saying he can't do it. He's just not the guy you think about the most when it comes to that role. And again, when he's not finding himself in dangerous positions and scoring goals, the value gets in question more so than any other attacker around him. So yeah, I agree. I'd go back to Celio on the left. I'd push Hartel back inside. And not that Betcher's just breaking down the door, but you probably go back to him as well, because I don't see Critch or anyone showing any sort of affinity to a Zonde Silva, for example, here. So I expect Betcher to maintain his position, and Klaus maintains obviously his role. I mean, Klaus, looking at this Justin, is now, I would say, not even arguably your best player, your most informed player right now, taking Berkey out of the equation. So I mean, he is first name in the team sheet for me. I think we've successfully, Justin, maybe us, as well as with Mike as well, have paraded Klaus enough. We were there before he started going off on goals, by the way. People forget that. We're the ones from the rooftop singing his praises. He offers a lot to this team. The goals will come. Be patient. Look at him now. I'm proud. I'm a proud papa just looking at Klaus just grab the bull by the horns and start just bagging goals. So I'm hoping that he gets more here on Sunday night.
Yeah, and I definitely think you can. And Jake, that's going to be a part of my goal again. I wanted an XG of over 2 versus the RSL team. And I think coming back to City Park on a Sunday night, a rocking place that hopefully the weather is going to be showing out and the fans will be as well for a 6 p.m. Not too late for a little Sunday night. It's summertime, no school the next day. Go into work a little bit later. It's July. Who cares? And I want an XG of over 2 in this game, Jake. And I want goals of at least 2 in this game. That's more important to me than anything right now, because right now, like we already mentioned earlier in the show, we have 13 games left. That's a possible 39 points. We need at least 30 of those to have a chance of making the wild card with 45 points. It's just not happening. The season's kind of done and dusted from that sense. We're not mathematically eliminated, but we will be here soon in the next couple of weeks. So let's give me something to root for with this team. Show me some bright spots. Show us that it's exciting soccer that we can play out there. And that's what I want to see out of this team. So I want some goals. I want some chances created as well. I just want some bangers. I want us to have an XG over 2 and 2 goals. And Jake, I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw in this match, because I do think that we're still going to be leaky on the defensive front. Even with them missing Anthony, they have plenty of guys that can step up and score goals and assist goals. So 2-2 draw, a lot of 2s across the board for me. What are your keys to the game or goals for the game and your prediction?
Yeah, so my goal for the game for this team is we didn't allow, surprisingly, any transition goals in this last match, as surprisingly as it is. If you can limit Portland to the shots on goal that went into the net from RSL's perspective, I think we can do well in this match. I know there were still transition moments that created danger for RSL, and Berkey made some big saves. So I think Berkey needs to be massive in goal as one of my goals. Again, just keep your form going. You are going to catch a good stride. You will get a good defensive performance at some point here, you'd hope. Limit the transitions, though. Again, this is a team that we know they're going to bring that to it. Maybe give yourself a little more space sometimes, or maybe be a little more aggressive on where you set your line and make sure you're in line with your back line. No more of this, I'm 2 yards up, you're 3 yards back, he's 4 yards over. I want everyone together, defending together and looking across to make sure they're all in alignment there. Nothing easy. That's really my goal. And then from a prediction perspective, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say we're going to find ourselves a little bit on Sunday night. I'm thinking a 3-1 W is in the works. I am an insane person to even put us and win in the same sentence right now, but I'm saying 3-1. I think we're going to find our goal scoring boots, and I think we're able to put some clamps down on Portland. I think missing Anthony is really going to hurt this attack, and I think if we can just bottle up DaCosta as much as we possibly can, Berkey stands on his head, I think there is 3 points for us in this match.
Jake, that is a bold call, and I appreciate it. And there is definitely money to be had here. So, Jake, and that is one of the things that we will obviously be coming out with another underdog entry for this. So, for anybody that has not already downloaded Underdog, you can download Underdog and use code BallWatching and make your first deposit and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We'll be making an entry. We're always taking the higher on city stats. So, and the only thing that we will also do is then take the goalkeepers higher on the opposing team to allow goals. So, Jake, to your point, we're both saying 2 goals, 3 goals. They usually set that right at 1.5, and I'll definitely be hammering the higher on that. So, if you have not signed up today, again, you can play now in Missouri. Use code BallWatching to make your first deposit and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash and enjoy us on our entry on Sunday.
Well, thanks for the show, Justin. It's been a good time. Hopefully you all enjoyed this hour of some U.S. men's national team chat, some city chat, the big preview here ahead of Portland. And obviously, if you have not already, go look at the reel on Instagram for us and go get entered for this massive giveaway. The game is obviously this weekend, but that home protection plan, baby, that's lasting a full year. Anything under the roof, you are going to be a full-fledged member, getting that priority access, that white glove care from Hoffman Brothers. Again, shout out to Hoffman Brothers for hooking us up with an amazing giveaway to reward you all with, our loyal listeners, and make sure you get entered. It's not hard.
It's so easy, Jake. And then we'll be posting the reel probably here in the next 30 minutes. This thing will be live for a little over 48 hours. So get to it, get on it. Win yourself a couple hundreds of dollars, couple thousands of dollars on this giveaway. And shout out to Hoffman again for doing this. This is going to be absolutely awesome. Jake, is it possible for can I do this from my own personal? I'm so intrigued by this. I haven't been in the pitch club in just so long. I would have a nice little Sunday fun day, a great meal with some drinks, enjoying the weather, a city dub after your prediction. Absolutely.
I love it. We might just create a burner or a couple for this one and get that homework done. So make sure you all enter to win. It should be an exciting match on Sunday night. And thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you all next week. All for City.
Oh, for City.